Almost every great American hi-fi brand of the last 70 years grew from the same tree. And the root of that tree is one man, Henry Close. Acoustic Research, KLH, Advent, Cambridge Soundworks, Tivoli Audio. If you grew up with great sound in your house, odds are Close had something to do with it, whether you knew his name or not. Here's the part that most people don't know. That tree never stopped growing. Parts of the same engineering team with the same DNA lives on today in Massachusetts at a company called Andover Audio. So Nick and I went to find the people still carrying it forward, and we got to meet Bob Hazelwood, the legendary engineer behind their sound, a guy who's been designing speakers since way before Nick was even born. What we found wasn't just great audio gear, it was the same thing Close believed 70 years ago, that listening to music should mean something, and outstanding audio sound should be available for everyone.
Andover Audio started primarily as a spin-off of Cambridge Soundworks. And Cambridge Soundworks was initially founded by Henry Close of KLH fame. And one of his big philosophies was, while he always appreciated high-end audio and cost no objects stuff, his goal was to bring the essence of that type of product into the mainstream so everybody could afford it. He didn't think that only audiophiles should be able to enjoy good sound. He wanted to bring that to everybody. And that philosophy kind of stuck.
I'm sure that many of you had Cambridge Soundworks Newton Series speakers in your home at some point. Bob engineered those. He wanted that same outstanding audio quality at a price point that was still affordable.
And I can still remember Cambridge as being the best bang for your buck audio available at the time.
Okay, Cambridge Soundworks was basically one of the pioneers of mail order audio back in the time when people were saying, you got to be an idiot to buy something online, without actually hearing it first. Because there were stores. Now we don't have a lot of stores. Cambridge Soundworks was owned by Creative Labs. Creative Labs' main business at the time was making sound cards. Sound cards were hot back in the day because you had to, if you wanted any sound, in many cases you had to buy one. And if you wanted better sound, you had to buy a good one. But it got to the point where computers pretty much had built-in sound, and built-in sound was getting pretty good. So the sound card business wasn't what it used to be. So Cambridge Soundworks started to spin off a lot of the subsidiaries they bought during the heyday of the company. Our general manager and his finance guy saw the writing on the wall that we were going to be in that spin-off zone, downsizing and that sort of thing. So made a deal where we bought the OEM business that Cambridge Soundworks was doing with companies like Harley-Davidson and Polycom and some of the others. We didn't get the retail brand necessarily. We just got engineering and the OEM business. So this was in 2012, and we built product for other manufacturers up until 2019. And in 2019, we just had this desire to get back into the audio business because, one of our companies we sold a lot of speakers to, made Las Vegas style gaming machines. So somebody had to make the electronics and speaker that say, hey, you're a winner, right? And we did that. And, it was lucrative. We paid the bills and more, but it just wasn't fun. Audio's fun, home audio in particular. So just like Henry Close's old philosophy with KLH and Cambridge Soundworks, take the essence of high-end hi-fi and somehow package it to make it easy to use for both people that are getting into it for the first time, that are in your 20s, 30s, that sort of thing, as well as people that are, perhaps more my age as an older guy, that went through this whole process of really enjoying complicated systems when that was the only thing there was, but now just wanted to listen to music and wanted to make it easy. Didn't want to have to take over the house for it. We called it the Model 1 because of lack of being able to come up with any better name, which was our first product. That was the predecessor to this, which is now called the Andover 1 rather than just the Model 1. And this is the Mark II version of the Andover 1. And it basically, it's just the top part, which is an all-in-one record player. Got the speakers built in, amplifier, turntable built into the top. It's just an easy package, pretty much place anywhere. And this has gotten phenomenal recognition, both by reviewers in the internet, but by some pretty famous musicians. We were surprised last October. Neil Young from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young has a thing that he does called the Neil Young Archives, and he bought a couple of units. Actually, we knew he bought them, but we were surprised by the shout out that he gave us in October, where he basically said, I think we got the quote down there somewhere, but he basically said, this thing is the best. All in one, it's all you need. Said on his blog, he bought two. He's got one in his studio or whatever it is, and one in the house. Jazz bassist Christian McBride has one. The pianist Emmett Cohen has one of our spin plays. So we've gotten a lot of acceptance from people who know better, who know live music, who have experienced the biggest, most expensive electronics, and we made them happy. What's nice about this is that when we introduced it, visibility to the public was at the Rocky Mountain Audio Fest, which is out in Denver, Colorado. And it was, at the time, one of the biggest audio shows. We had this product by itself, kind of just like you see it here, the stand, the subwoofer, sitting alone in the front of the curtains in a hotel room in a show that had everybody that had, speakers that you could live in and, wires that were, as thick as gas pipe, that sort of thing, and tubes that were heating the room. Really good stuff. And people were coming into our room and they're staying there saying, I can't believe you're getting that out of this little system. What's nice is that kind of showed us, and the fact that it was accepted showed us that we were on the right track for a lot of people. There's nobody that was doing what we're doing to bring most of that performance to a really accessible, easy to understand level.
Right, and I think that's something that my generation could really appreciate too, is not having to spend the money or take the space out of their homes to have a good system too. Because if it's all in one like this, but also high quality, it adds that convenience. That's pretty much, convenience is like half the battle of people my age. There's a lot of all-in-one players where I read the reviews online. It's like, well, it's convenient, but it doesn't sound very good. But here it's like, it's a total package. So I feel like that's what really can take off with kids my age, I would say. Right.
We have a lot of non-believers. Right. Because we do things that you can't do. We said, well, this thing is nice, but it's pricey. Okay. That was at that time about $2,500. Okay. Which is not entry level for anybody. Right. The next step was the spin bass. So the spin bass, which is in black and white versions, the trick we did to allow you to have a speaker with a turntable on top, we developed a technique called isogroove, which solves the big problem with doing this. And it is the fact that speakers create vibrations to make sound. The vibration vibrates the turntable. Mm-hmm. That vibration is picked up by the stylus, which creates sound that makes the speaker vibrate even more. Right? So you go through this whole cycle. It's known as acoustic feedback. Right. And you can get to the point where it makes it unlistenable, where the stylus is just bouncing over the record and you can't hear anything. There's just this low frequency rumbling. So the way people have solved this, the easiest way is to move the speakers and put them separate, in the room. But the way people have solved this in most of the commercial units that are out there are all-in-ones, is to mount the turntable on really floppy springs. Theoretically, that isolates the vibration from reaching the stylus. In fact, that can work, except that now you have a structure that when you walk across your room, or you're having a party and everybody's jumping to jump or something like that, this stylus is bouncing all over the place. So in this case, when you have a fairly solid mounting system, without bouncy springs, you can actually live with it in your room, not have to worry about being really careful about moving around, and still get good sound. The other trick is that some people use is they just don't have good bass. And that's why some of the reviews that you're talking about where they say it's convenient but doesn't sound that great, well, they've limited the bass response. And hey, we like bass.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody
No.
come back and say, "Boy, that thing has too much bass."
Right. That'll
You
never
know?
happen. I have a subwoofer that's called, it's a JL Audio subwoofer,
Oh, they're
but
great.
the case is called the Bomb. It's called a Bomb.
There you
it's
go.
like the whole size of my trunk. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and that's
Right.
we like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, even I'm an old guy, and I like that.
Yeah.
So spin bass is basically a smaller version of the acoustics that are in an Andover one. It's not as powerful.
Yeah.
Speakers aren't as big, quite as sophisticated, but
Right.
it's really, really popular with people just getting into vinyl because it is so easy. You know, you
Yeah.
basically, you can use any turntable. It doesn't have to be ours. We'd like it to be ours for obvious
Right.
reasons.
Yeah.
It matches and everything. A lot of people are buying it because they might have a turntable in their attic
Right.
or in their basement from years ago, and they
Right.
want something. You know, now they've realized, hey, wait a minute, these records I have, they're
Yeah.
not dead yet.
Right. People like them again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the old
Yeah.
Monty Python, you know,
Yeah.
Holy Grail, I'm not dead yet.
Yeah.
Feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, and vinyl's kind of going through that cycle. So a lot of people are recovering their old record players,
Right.
putting on a spin bass. It's the easiest possible way
Right.
of doing it.
And that's how you get people back.
Yeah, get people back.
Yeah,
People don't want to, you know, they don't want to necessarily have to learn something new, because learning that thing isn't the goal. Getting music is the goal.
Right.
And if we can take, as you say, the friction out in the middle, this combination to make it even easier.
Right.
Okay, as we just came out with this a few weeks ago, which is called Spin Play. What Spin Play is a spin bass and a turntable as an all-in-one. Now you don't even need to pick turntable or whatever. So what you're looking for is the end game.
Right.
You know, this gets you right to
Right.
the end game with one box. What's particularly cool about this compared to, you know, even a spin deck 2 is that it comes out of the box and you don't have to do anything. Yeah, there's no balancing
Yeah.
of the tone arm. There's no putting the platter and the belt on.
Right.
There's none of that assembly, even as on high-end units you pretty much have to do.
Right.
But you even have to do it with like the $250 stuff from Amazon.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
it comes
exactly.
kind of as a kit of parts.
Yeah.
The Spin Play literally comes out of the box. You take the, you know, plastic and paper packaging off. You plug it into the wall. You know, basically operation is you put a record on, you raise the queuing, bring the arm over, lower the queuing, and wait. And then magic happens. Couldn't be easier than that.
Right.
Okay, and then at the end of the record,
These are our drums.
you basically get to the end and it stops.
Right. So would
Okay.
you think this would be the perfect thing to recommend to like a 20-year-old trying to get into vinyl? You would
Absolutely.
say? Right. Because it's
Absolutely.
so convenient.
One of the things that's going to be introduced in the next couple of weeks is we have something that's coming in for this called the Go Bag, and it's basically a padded carrying
Wow,
bag.
that's smart.
So you can take it back and forth easily.
Right.
You know, any component system has multiple boxes and lots of wiring.
Right.
Here you basically, you know, put the clamp on there, close the lid, stick it in the Go Bag, and go.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Throw a few records in the top. You can throw your power cable and your remote control here. It's just got foam backing, but and the unit itself, you know, basically pops in. And then you can just basically lift it out, plug it in, and use it. You know, it's got a shoulder strap and, of course, a carrying handle.
Right.
We're not calling it portable because it really isn't. You know, it weighs 20 pounds. You don't want to carry this around everywhere you go.
I love that I get to make these videos with my son, and it was great watching Bob and Nick talk about the very things that brought us together to make these videos in the first place.
Your focus has been on a lot of vintage stuff, and, you know, it's like I enjoy seeing things like, you know, the old Panasonic with the red thing with the handle and the 8-track in the side.
Yeah. Yeah. He just throws me into the room and asks me what he thinks it is. So sometimes I'm totally clueless, but last time I was kind of right.
Well, it's great because learning about how we got to where we are now is kind of important, because, you know, there's so many different varieties of paths you can take in the audio business.
So people in the college age generation, what do you think of them, even in the streaming era that we have now, wanting to collect records and physical media? how does that make you feel with all
Well,
that?
yeah, it reminds me of an old cartoon that I saw at one point that my boss always gives me a hard time about because I use it sometimes as a entry to discussion.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what was it about vinyl that attracted you to?
Yeah.
Was it the expense or the inconvenience? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the reaction you're
Right.
supposed to get.
Right.
Because Spotify and all the streaming services, I use Qobuz,
Right.
almost exclusively for the fidelity, but all the streaming services are great convenience for getting music wherever you
Right.
are. Dealing with vinyl and you're dealing with any physical recorded media, so this holds true for CD and cassette as well, it's purposeful. You've got an appreciation for more than just that song. The albums typically are programmed by the artist or the producers, so that as you're playing through, you get a vibe, you get a feel.
Right.
When you're doing it song for song and doing that endless scroll, you really don't get that full picture.
Yeah.
The other thing is that you've got the tactile sensation. You've got
Right.
something physical.
Artists will come out with different colored vinyl for each album or something like that. It becomes like a collection, which is I think something that's really gotten my generation to start to want to get it. Because
And different
we want every
stores.
little thing. Right. Yeah.
Different stores might have
Right,
different
different
colors, so you got to
partnerships
get
and stuff
one
like
from
that.
this guy and one
Right.
from that guy.
Bob is hosting a new video podcast series called On the Record. We will have a link in the description below. Make sure to check it out.
But this is where we shoot our on the record, and and our other stuff is sort of the photo studio and video studio. Records where we got endorsements from some of the artists. All those people have Andover systems. Christian McBride, Joe Farnsworth, the drummer, Isaiah J. Thompson. The only thing we do here, besides engineering, is rework and surfs. This is my realm where I play with my stuff. It's not the most organized person, but somebody gave me this for a reason.
Right after that section, we sat down in Bob's lab and he played us some Dire Straits, some classic Dire Straits on vinyl, on Andover equipment. And the sound was fantastic. Unbelievable. We couldn't believe it.
You almost just put it on YouTube and took the copyright.
Right. Well, it was unfortunate we can't play that part because of the copyright, obviously. I think for me, while the equipment that Andover makes is incredible, what actually impressed, I think, us most wasn't just the turntables and the speakers. It was meeting people who still believe listening to music should be intentional, something we talk a lot about, and I have in the past as well. And Bob Hazelwood. Wow. Bob is amazing. A legend, an absolute legend. We could have talked, we were there for quite a while, but we could have talked to Bob
all day,
we could have talked to Bob all day long, gladly. He was so knowledgeable. He was so passionate about music and sound. He just told us stories. He taught us a lot.
Right.
Just an amazing experience. I hope you all like that. We're hoping to do more of these kinds of conversations and visits on the channel. Here's what's coming up. We're going to have a full in-depth review of the Spin Deck 2 turntable and the Spin Bass speaker system. Now, Bob mentions it here in the video, but we're going to have it. We're going to review it. We're going to show you all of the features of it. Make sure to check that out coming up soon.
I told you guys the 900 subscriber special would be special.
Definitely a special video with Bob, and probably one of my favorites so far. And we are over 900, so big deal there. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the Andover Audio Spin Deck and Spin Bass video coming up soon.